Hi, Tom.
Tommy, can you hear me?
That's such an old Rosie bit.
Can you hear me?
She used to play that all the time because she was in love with Tom. Do you remember that on her show? She said,
yeah. You know, Tommy's my favorite musical of all time. Did you know that?
I thought of you when I got the Broadway briefing.
I know. It's coming back to Broadway.
Tommy, we might be gulping a little bit more than usual.
Yeah.
So just avoid those.
Is there a cold open in there, Tom? I'm going to go ahead and say yes. Thank you so much. Hi, Jillian Benzavalli.
Hi, Patrick Hines.
Hey, fam. As I always say, how about you do us a solid and come and join us on the Patreon?
Sure.
If you like what we're doing, come get more of it. Every month, you get 4 full ad-free bonus episodes. We cover this series, right?
Yeah,
so that's where we cover like the Netflix and the Hulu and the Peacock and all that stuff.
Things that are like multi-part episodes.
Yes. What are we doing? Right now we're doing Never Let Him Go.
Never Let Him Go. We did both seasons of Wild Crime.
Yes.
We did the classics, the Jinx, the Staircase, but we also did like Bad Vegan and Love Fraud.
Tinder Swindler, Tin Swins.
You say that every time. That was a two-parter.
It was on the reg.
But it's also on the Patreon ad-free also.
Yes, that's true. Right, because we also have an ad-free tier. We've got the after party tier where we take your questions sometimes, where we give you advice.
Yep.
There's another tier where we send you stuff.
Yeah.
It's really fun over there.
Party.
Over there on the Pates.
Yeah, as Linda Belcher would say, it's a party, all right.
Who's Linda Belcher?
From Bob's Burgers.
Hey, if we were going out, I don't know, to the club and we needed to get a mode of transportation, but it wasn't an Uber, and the vehicle arrived, what would you say?
I think I would say something like, Gabs it!
We need our Jersey Shore recap podcast. We got to do Gabs it.
Gabs it.
What? We're not talking about the Jersey Shores.
No, we're not at all.
What are we talking about today?
So this is the Piketon Family Murders. It is on Oxygen, and Beth Karras is our host and narrator.
In the early morning hours of April 22nd, 2016, a shocking crime is discovered in the small community of Pike County, Ohio.
No deputies on the way, okay?
An entire family, the Rodens and a young woman named Hannah Gilly, lie brutally murdered in their beds. Each shot to death at close range, execution style, in a methodical, cold-blooded mass killing.
Good morning, everyone. A horrifying mass shooting has a lot of people on edge today.
There's many crime scenes. There's many bodies.
The same question is on everyone's lips. What kind of person or persons could wipe out 2 generations in one night? And why?
Beth Karras is here.
Beth Karras is here.
Beth Karras is here.
Karras is here. No, you just say Karras. I think.
Karras
is here.
I love Beth Karras. I think she's from outside of Boston, and you can tell.
This is her show. This is her program.
Yes.
Don't say otherwise.
Listen, I've been seeing that there's a whole podcast about this. I know this is a really big case.
It is.
This documentary left me wanting.
Yeah.
It's a 90-minute Oxygen thing. Sometimes Oxygen nails it. I wouldn't say this time around.
Yeah, some things they do very well. It is very victim-focused, which we love.
But
there are other things where they do too much of the previously on and next time on in the middle of the show.
Because
they recap because we have commercial breaks.
It should just be a 40-minute episode with none of that.
Just dive right in.
You don't
have to recap it. I was watching the whole time.
Yeah, well, for example, it opens with a terrifying 911 call. This person says, there's blood all over the place. I think my brother-in-law is dead.
Yeah, so it's April 22nd, 2016.
7:53 a.m.
Yeah.
Gabs here.
Oh, I was going to say, you're going to do that thing where, it's so late because I woke up at 4 o'clock.
It's lunchtime for me. I don't know what you all are eating, but...
Yawn.
I'm just going to go for a midday stretch.
Oh, boy. You know what? It's true.
But this person has just discovered the body of her brother-in-law shot to death inside a trailer home. She finds 2 bodies, in fact. It's Chris Roden Sr. and Gary Roden, his cousin.
Yeah, and so family member Kenny is here. He's Gary's brother, and he's sitting to camera. He's of course, super upset, struggling to talk about it. This might be a little confusing. There are 2 very big families here, so there are a lot of names, and we have 8 victims in this just to begin with.
Which I don't know in something that wasn't a mass, casualty situation that we've ever done anything. The 8 members of this family are killed at the same time.
At the same, in different discovered,
in different places. They're killed
in
at the
their
same
homes,
time. Yeah,
it's very. So if it feels complicated, there are a lot of names coming at you.
Yeah. So the investigators arrive at the mobile home. We learn that this mobile home is just one of several properties owned by the Roden family. We meet Jeff Winkler. He's a journalist for The Outline. I don't know what that is.
Yeah, it's a publication of some kind.
It's a publication of some kind.
If I'm deducing correctly.
Yeah, and he tells us...
Bobby Joe tells deputies she ran for help to an adjacent home on the property. But when she arrived, Bobby Joe was stunned to discover Frankie and his fiancée, Hannah Gilly, had also been shot dead.
and there discovers 2 more bodies.
And they're part of the same family. It's Frankie Roden and his fiancée, Hannah.
Yeah.
And so she calls 911 again. And after she calls 911, Bobby Joe calls her brother.
Yes.
And he finds yet another murder scene at another Roden family property.
So she's been to one murder scene. She's now at a second one and calls her brother, who is somewhere else, where it is also a murder scene.
Who was like, they both just got off with 911 and they were calling each other.
Yes.
And they're sharing the same. I can't, can you imagine
No.
what that must feel like? Like,
No.
you must be outside of yourself.
I was going to say, I don't know that your body processes that kind of trauma in real time, so you cannot make any sense of it, I would imagine.
And imagine, like, picking up the phone and having the same story of the person that you're calling to help. Like, I can't imagine.
No, and the victims where brother James is, they are Dana Roden and Hannah Roden.
Different Hannah. So Hannah was at the third murder scene. This is a different Hannah.
So up to now, 6 members of the Roden family have been killed.
Also, Beth says wiped out. Can we not? Woof.
Beth cares.
I know. She mentions it a couple times.
I know.
It's in the copy quite often. I take a little bit of it with wiped out. Like,
can you imagine what Diane Dimond would be saying? Do you know what I mean?
Like worse. Much worse.
Much worse.
Yeah, no, we're not putting Beth Karras in the same.
No, they do not speak to each other at the Christmas cocktail party.
Just to recap, 6 violent deaths in 3 different homes, and they're all related to each other. Like, literally, they are all family.
Yes. And so they say that, like, this is a small town and the news sweeps across Pike County, quickly reaching, like, local media outlets.
Right. And so it's like Pike County, but the town is Piketon, which is why it's the Piketon murders.
But it's also the Roden family. I thought Piketon was the name of the family.
I thought so, too.
Yes,
I kept waiting
Roden
for the...
family.
I didn't... Okay, this is... Oxygen, we have notes.
I know, but this is also what the podcast is called, the Piketon family murders. So it's like, it's all very confusing.
Because you know why? Because there are 2 families. So it's like the family murders.
You're right.
Right?
Yep, you solved it.
I solved it.
You solved it. Good job. I let the women do the work.
Thank you. But so now everyone's like, is there an active shooter? Was the shooter one of the bodies that was found? Like, no one really knows what the hell happened.
Because you would think with, like, they only know of 6 dead people at this point. They're going to find 2 more in a little bit. Like, how was this accomplished?
Exactly.
You know what I mean? 6 people in 3 different places at this point. How was this managed?
And, like, these other family members weren't home, and so they just sort of happened upon this, like, horrible scene. But Pastor Phil Fulton is here. He's front and center of the story.
I'd had coffee that morning with my brothers, which I do every Friday morning, and we're just getting ready to leave. And my phone rang and said there's been murders on Union Hill Road. I just got up here as quick as I could.
In communities like this, I feel like pastors are kind of central.
Like a comforting figure,
100%.
right? To help people deal with whatever they're dealing with, which is something horrible. So a member of the Roden family is missing. His name is Chris Roden Jr., a.k.a. Little Chris. He is not accounted for. So, of course, the questions are, is he a suspect? Is he a victim? Is he in danger somewhere? Like, did these people now go to get him? Like, no one really knows what is going on.
Right. So a couple hours after discovering that Chris is unaccounted for, there's another 911 call, and you hear the guy say, it's all the stuff that's on the news. I just found my cousin Kenneth Roden with a gunshot wound. He's not alive. So this is now the 7th Roden family member, and Chris would be the 8th, but he's unaccounted for.
Right. And then they find little Chris.
Yeah.
And he's also been shot to death.
So he's the 8th and last member of the Roden family.
Like, they're all dead in their homes. It all happened in one day.
Yeah.
Like, who could have pulled that? Like, this seems like
impossible.
And
why?
And no one heard it. And like, they were all on the same property. Like, it just seems seems massive.
And in addition to that, we now have 4 crime scenes. They're saying there's no clues, no motives. And the killer is still on the loose.
But at the same time, it feels very, very targeted.
Yes.
Because it is all one family. But at the same, like, it's scary because now you're living in a community with people who are capable of this.
Yes.
It's terrifying no matter how you look at it.
And also, like, there's 8 people that you know and, like, see at church and at the grocery store that have all been murdered at once.
Right.
It doesn't make any sense.
And what we learn right now about the Roden family is that they were, because it is a small community, and the Roden family was enormous.
The Rodens were known and loved throughout Pike County.
The Roden family was the most fun people to be around. They were always making people laugh. They were very extraordinary.
Someone describes them as extraordinary.
This is one of those places, though, where you get conflicting accounts of what this town is like. People are like, it's a small town and everyone kept to themselves. It's a small town and we never locked our doors and we looked after each other's kids.
It's a small town and it was a party every time we went food shopping because the Rodens were there. It was party time. They were awesome.
I think that it's a town full of small town people who love living in a small town for their own reasons.
Right. And
it's like how college is what you make it. It's like this small town, if you want it to be a place where you know all your neighbors, then it is that. If you want it to be a place where you don't know anybody and everyone leaves you alone, then it is that too.
Yes. And I also feel like the Roden family was so big that everyone knows a Roden.
Yeah,
maybe you don't know all of them, but you went to college with one or you worked with but you went to school with one or you worked with one or you were neighbors. Everyone, like the Rodens, who doesn't know the Rodens?
Exactly.
Right? And I do want to make an important point here. There were young children in all of these houses and all of the young kids were left alive. There was an infant, there was a 4-day-old baby. All of these little kids and babies were left alive.
Which tells you something, and we'll get into this later, but it tells you something about the kind of, when they start to speculate who did this and why, it definitely gives you, I think it helps us cross some kinds of people off the list.
Yes, I agree. But we learn a little bit more about Piketon, you were saying. Very small town.
Tight-knit community of 2,100 people, 82 miles from Cincinnati on the western edge of Appalachia.
Thank you for saying Appalachia.
I know, because you corrected me last time. Wait. Hero bell for me.
They'll throw an Appalachia if you say it wrong. That's the cute little term that they say.
Where did you learn that?
Someone DM'd it to me
years
ago.
Appalachia.
The first time, because I think we said the Appalachian Trail. This was forever ago. I can't remember what we did, but they were like, "Hey, girl, gently, it's Appalachia."
Tell me again about not looking into the woods.
Don't do it.
Why? God puts you live in a place that's surrounded by woods and trees. That's beautiful, and you love living there, but you can't look at the trees.
Look, I am on.
I know you don't make the rules,
right? I follow them though, based on if you're not on Appalachia lore talk, whatever it is. There are very strict rules. Don't look into the woods.
I told you about the lesbians. The lesbians that just let us all listen to something being violently murdered in the woods.
Yes. If you thought you saw something, no, you didn't. If you think you heard something, no, you didn't.
Oh my God.
Just keep it cool.
Wait,
don't fuck around.
Is that because there's monsters back there, or because people are doing illegal shit?
No, it's a very.
Is it monsters or meth labs?
It's monsters.
Okay, great.
Again, I've never been there. This is just what pops up on my For You page in between Taylor Swift videos and dog videos. That's really. And then I'm on Spooky Talk. There's this one person, this one creator on TikTok who thinks that there's she lives in Appalachia and there's a mimic of her husband.
What?
So she'll be like, oh hey, my husband's home, but then she'll look at her phone because they had share location. And he's still at work.
What do you mean a mimic? What do you mean?
That's what I'm saying.
What do you mean?
No, that's what I'm saying.
What do you mean?
We're Jennifer Lawrence on Hot Ones. What do you mean?
What do you mean?
What do you mean?
What do you mean? But wait, has she seen the mimic?
Yes. She has a whole thing on it. I wish I knew her name. But if you Appalachian mimic, she comes up
Appalachian mimic.
Or whatever the hashtag is. If you Google it, she has a lot of spooky stories.
I love her merch. Her merch is amazing.
I know.
It's mime costumes.
It really is just you are fascinated by it's crazy. But anyway, don't look in the woods.
Don't look in the woods.
I don't make the rules. I just follow them.
But they say that
the town retains an independent spirit dating back to its pioneering history. But one thing everyone can agree on in Piketon is that violent crime of this scale is simply unheard of.
Violence on this scale is unheard of in this community, to which I'm it's unheard of anywhere, you guys. This is not a normal thing.
Yeah, no. But also, it's as we said, a small town, really, really into community and family, but at the same time, unemployment has risen over the years.
It was a factory town, they say. When the factories left, unemployment grew, but it's also one of those places, they say, where you love living there. If you're from there, you don't want to leave. That's why the Roden family is so big.
Yeah.
Because people love living there, so they kind of make it work.
And some people had the option to leave and others didn't. It's very expensive. You can't just pick up and move.
Yeah.
So some people didn't have that option and now they're living in this town that used to be a factory town and a lot of unemployment.
That's full of trees where you can't look into the woods or a monster or Bigfoot murders you.
That's what TikTok does.
Okay. Bigfoot, be cool, girl.
But then they say, hey. And then there are other people stitching that, being it's the ravens. It's just the animals.
Oh my God.
It's totally fine.
The ravens are now fucking with us.
Oh, right.
You know what I mean?
I don't know anything about it.
We turn our eyes off the ocean for 5 seconds where the orcas are eating fucking boats.
And the otters are stealing surfboards. Team otter.
I know. So
they hold hands when they sleep so they don't drift away, right?
You always
tell me.
I know, it's pretty great.
And that's just a little moment. If you're having a rough day, everyone, just remember the fact that Otters very adorably link hands when they sleep. It's
but
very
you know
cute.
what? I'm going to say it. Like, if you want to just ruin your day, just imagine that at least once or twice in human history, one
You're
otter.
not going to say it. You're not saying
the hand
it.
unslipped.
I can't handle this right now. No, we're going to start again.
Okay.
In human history, otters fall in love and everything's totally
and
fine.
they mate for life. 100%.
And everyone is safe and happy, right?
Yep.
Otters are also vicious. Don't fuck with them.
Whoa.
They got real sharp teeth. Don't mess around. Just ask those surfers. An otter wrestled a surfboard from a human being in excellent shape because they're a surfer. Just think about that.
I know.
Don't fuck with the
Don't
otters.
fuck with
they're
the otters.
adorable, but they will bite you.
I know. So we learn that the rodents are relatively newcomers because they've only been there for 50-something years.
I was like, excuse me, Beth Karras, 50 years is still a long time. I know it's not like generations upon generations upon generations. However, 50 years is a long time, no?
Yeah, no, I agree. So we learn that Chris, who's the patriarch of this clan, his dad died in 2008. And when he died, he has 8 siblings and they all received equal share of the family's property.
Right.
To which I said, can we look into that?
Right. Like
that sounds like a motive for murder.
I know.
You want more of the property, there's only one way to get it.
Yeah, but if there's 8 of you, isn't that the easiest way? Just like, you know what? I'm splitting it up evenly.
No, I know, but I'm
all
just
of you.
saying that, like,
no,
if
people are crazy.
Yeah,
about
people are
estates.
fucking crazy.
But so some of these siblings moved away, but Chris stayed.
Yes.
And Chris marries Dana and settled on some land, quote, a stone's throw away from where they grew up. Thanks, Beth.
Beth Care, I gotta say, if Keith is big on the writing, Beth is
He
big on
lied
the...
like a sidewalk. That's what Keith.
Yeah. Beth is all about the delivery. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
She's on the delivery.
100%.
She can't be bothered with the script.
No.
No.
She's Beth Karras.
Lied like a sidewalk.
Like, she shows up to the cocktail party. Everyone's like, who's that? Oh, it's Beth Karras.
Beth
Dressed
Karras.
to the
Oh my
nines,
God.
not a hair out of place. She looks amazing.
Yep.
What is she drinking? Manhattans?
Yeah.
Cosmos?
No, I'm thinking like a Pinot Gris.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
Okay. Beth, I'll see you at the bar.
She's your people.
Okay, great. I drink other things besides Pinot Gris.
We learned that Big Chris, as they called him, because remember, Little Chris was his son.
Yes.
Big Chris was the dad of everyone. He was very protective over his family.
Chris worked construction jobs at Big Bear Lake Resort in nearby Lucasville. When work was slow, he would buy cars at auction and flip them for profit.
He would buy cars at auction and flip them for profit?
Yeah, this construction job that he worked at was at a place called Big Bear Lake in a town called Lucasville.
Uh-oh.
I'm just going to tell you right now,
Uh-oh.
I want to live in that town.
Okay, we got to move on.
Okay.
If you've read Patrick's book, you understand. That's all I'll say.
Dana was a full-time nurse's assistant.
Yeah, she was kind, loving, hardworking.
They describe her as robust. I was like, robust, that's an adjective.
She's awesome,
I know,
is what I'm getting about Dana. A full-time nursing assistant? Like,
I
come
know.
on.
They say she was unpredictable and hilarious. You never knew what she was going to say or do, but she was going to make you laugh.
You know what? I want that in a nurse.
I know, and I want that in my bio.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yes. So after 20 years, Chris and Dana split up, and they stayed close, quote, for the sake of the family.
Yeah.
So, like, after 20, I guess they just realized this isn't gonna work. I don't know. I'm not speculating about their relationship, but they stayed close. Like, it wasn't like this really messy, horribly dramatic thing. Like, they were all around.
Right. So Chris, the patriarch, he was the first victim found. He's the one that lives in that trailer home with his cousin Gary.
Mm-hmm.
And right down the street from his brother Kenneth. They described this family like the brothers loved each other. They would do anything for anyone. They were just really good, nice people.
Yeah, they were outgoing and funny. They loved the demolition derby.
Okay, well, now hang on a second. We learned Chris and Dana had 3 kids. Their oldest is Frankie. He loved to be outdoors. He loved to go hunting. And they say he was so handsome, all the girls had crushes on him.
The girls loved Frankie, but Frankie loved cars. He and his brother Chris Jr. were crazy about another Appalachian staple, the demolition derby.
In first grade, that's all Chris talked about was being in that derby. He wanted to be in front of everyone at the fair and to ram his car into people.
So that means what he does is he drives the big truck that destroys the other cars. Is that right? Or is that a monster truck?
The demolition derby looks like cars that are like rickety.
It's bumper cars.
It's like bumper cars with real cars.
But real life. Oh
yeah,
my God.
I know. It seems terrifying, but I would also love it.
Is everyone wearing your seatbelt?
You're
wearing protective gear, please.
He just wanted to be at the state fair in front of people doing the demolition derby.
Look, it looks fun. You get out a lot of stress, I'm sure.
Demo derb Patrick over here.
Demo derbs?
You know what I mean? The demo derbs.
Demo derbs. I would go to a demolition derby.
Imagine you and I spending a weekend in Appalachia.
Look, when in Rome.
Oh, that's what I'm saying.
I can't look in the woods. What else am I going to do?
Do not fucking look in the woods.
Watch some cars get fucked up.
Can't you just see Bigfoot being like, did she fucking look at me?
No, I didn't.
She fucking look at me?
You know what, Bigfoot? This goes both ways. If you thought I looked at you, no, I didn't. Let's have a mutual respect, okay?
You know what,
no,
Bigfoot? This goes both fucking ways.
I respect you, lore in the woods. I know you've been here much longer than I have.
Did she fucking look at me?
No, I didn't.
Okay.
Goes both ways. Okay? Mutual respect. So hours, days, weeks are going by.
Yeah.
No information. Everyone is terrified. Rumors are flying. As Randy and Scream would say, everyone is a suspect. Nobody knows what's going on.
You just recently watched all 4 Scream movies.
I watched the first 4 Scream movies. I'd only seen 1 through 3. And then I saw the reboot where like Sydney and Gail and
they all
Dewey
come back.
Yeah.
Oh my God, I'm obsessed.
Yeah.
But wait, so this is where like the news descends on the town, like it becomes like a media frenzy.
Yes. And the sheriff realizes, hopefully sooner than when we hear about it in the documentary, that this is unprecedented.
Yes.
Like he knows immediately that he doesn't have the resources for something like this.
Yes.
I called Mike DeWine's guys, the attorney general, and I said, "Are you coming down for this?" And they went, "Yeah, we're going to take charge," which was extraordinary because it was so fresh. It was so early.
I mean, that's kind of a big deal that the attorney general for the entire state is taking over a murder investigation in your town because 8 members of the same family were gunned down
in their homes
in different places at the same time.
That's terrifying.
That's absolutely terrifying.
That feels very like I'm not making a joke, but it feels out of a movie. It feels very Kill Bill.
Yes,
you know, it feels just like this organized, targeted.
Yeah. It has to have been
like professionals.
Yes,
it feels like right?
Yeah,
like the mob.
Yes, and like we get a little bit of information here because they say that rumors are circulating that like at first that these were murder-suicides, but they say the coroner's report shows that most of the victims were shot multiple times, ruling out murder-suicide.
So now they have to look into what they call the unsavory aspects of the community. So cockfights are a thing here. Fucking great.
So like they look into the cockfighting community.
Like forcing stressed out and abused animals to violently fight to the death while people scream at them.
And that's what that is. It's like chickens fighting each other.
Yes.
Oh my God.
It's horrifying.
But they're saying that like people take it so seriously that like maybe they would kill each other over it.
Because the cops found rooster cages on the rodent property.
Yeah.
So they're like, was there a cockfighting rivalry that led to a mass murder of 8 people? I don't know.
But then they also consider a demolition derby feud. They literally consider it.
I was like, I thought we were going through the unsavory aspects of the community. What's wrong with the demo derbs?
I cannot even imagine. The demo derbs is what they get to do. Like,
don't besmirch the name of the demo derb.
I'm telling you, it's demo derbs is like the 3rd Sunday in June. It's the gay one. Like they give the gays the demo derbs for Pride Month for once.
100%.
You queens get to do this one time.
And they're still picking up glitter.
I know.
To this day. But the cockfighting theory fades pretty quickly.
Yes.
Then the demolition derby rivalry also fades very quickly.
Demolition derby feud. Good
answer. Good answer. So here's a fun story about Family Feud. I was watching it one day, and you're fascinated, right? And I promise you this payoff's good. I might have told this 10 times so far. But the thing was like, name a term that has the word virgin in it. So it was like Virgin Daiquiri, Virgin Mary,
Leica,
Virgin Islands, Leica, whatever. And someone was just like, they had 2 strikes. It was like, Cheryl, it's down to the wire. And she goes, Virgin hamburger. And the whole family was like, yeah, good answer. Totally expected it to survey says. And it was like, Cheryl with all of her heart. And God bless her family, the most supportive family. Oh, yeah. Virgin hamburger's totally up there, girl. You got this. You got it.
Virgin hamburger.
You know, then the other family for the steal.
I'm going to tell you, I've always been afraid of being on Family Feud because like I would
never, that's the worst.
Yep, I would cry. I would choke.
I mean, you have to go second or not at all.
100%.
I think that's the thing. But the thing is, it changes every time, so you're fucked. We can never go on Family Feud.
Family Feud is just here to fuck you. Just going to fuck you on Family Feud. I know.
But off the rails very quickly.
Oh, man.
Talk about unsavory.
I know. But what they're saying is that nobody can figure out a motive. Like, why? It's not the demo derbs. It's not the cockfighting. Why would you want to kill these good people?
Right. And like 8 people killed, 4 different locations. It was a group of people.
Yes.
Not one person did this. So like, is there a gang? Like, what's group of people could have done this?
How does nobody know anything? Nobody saw anybody coming and going. Nobody heard anything.
And then, oh no, there's a big, major, huge, life-altering bombshell. There's weed on the premises. We get into this is insane.
Well, the thing is, they say like there's like a breaking news.
The discovery of hundreds of marijuana plants on the rodent property leads investigators to at least wonder if drugs play a central role in the murders. Did that lead people to leap to certain conclusions?
I mean, you have a mass murder and then you have a huge grow operation. Someone's going to assume the hit by the drug cartels.
Everyone's making this seem like it was meth or heroin.
Yes.
Like, can we all just fucking relax?
I know.
Because now we're talking about the cartel and El Chapo. Like, this is not what this is. We all went to 100.
It was so funny because when I was taking notes on this, they say the head of this cartel's name, and they're like, also known as El Chapo. I went, oh,
him.
I did not know. But I don't think it's an unreasonable assumption to at least have to rule out, because we get all this information that pot, this cartel is called it's the infamous Sinaloa drug cartel, which is apparently run by El Chapo.
Great.
And they were saying that the cartel would send tons and tons and tons of pot up to the United States through this part of Ohio because it's on a main corridor.
Yeah, they do traffic a lot of drugs through this area.
Thank you.
It's pretty
you
active.
said that in a much easier way.
I got you.
Through this corridor, I said. But the point is, they're saying that the fact that whoever killed these people left no trace of anything, no DNA, no shell casings, no fingerprints, nobody saw them come and go. We're eventually going to learn they got past their fucking guard dogs, their security surveillance videos. It seems like a sophisticated cartel kind of
And
hit.
also, to be fair, the cartel doesn't like competition. They'll kill your entire family.
Yes.
So it's not that far-fetched. Those threats are fucking real. It's not like the mob where there are rules, which, again, they break. But, they will kill the kids, the family, they'll kill everybody.
And that's how they kind of rule out the cartel. Because remember, there was at least 2 babies, a 2-year-old and a
3-year-old.
a 5-day-old.
Oh, yeah.
That survived, that were literally in their mother's arms as she was killed, and they left the mother. And apparently the cartel does not do that.
They would never do that. And also, now that we're getting into the details of it, the rodents are too small time for the cartel.
Yeah.
200 pounds. The cartel is moving 20,000 pounds. This is not a thing.
Yes. Yeah.
But they looked into it. And they're also too far from the border. The cartel does not give a shit about the rodents.
But it just, the killings were startlingly organized and clean and done in a way that looked like it was done by professionals.
Yeah. But also because they had the attack dogs and they there was no sign of breaking and entering. So the cops are okay, they knew these killers.
Right. And
this is not
they were very up close and personal. The gunshots were at point blank range. It's in your face.
Yeah.
Very personal killing. And
then before we do anything else, we have to harass the woman who first found the bodies, Bobby Joe Manley.
I know.
They're if it's not the cartel, you know who it's got to be, Bobby Joe. And I'm by herself?
I know.
Can we, this poor woman?
You know what? It's either the cartel or Bobby Joe.
And there is no in between.
No, but 2 choices. We only get 2 choices.
Yeah, no, it's definitely, these are both very realistic choices, everyone. Poor Bobby Joe.
She submits to 3 different polygraph tests.
She thinks that these tests really work. So she's like, well, I don't have anything to lose. She would really feel that the test would prove her innocence.
Bobby Joe went through 2 or 3 lie detector tests, and she passed them all.
She, of course, had nothing to do with this. But they also keep looking at the family because, as we know, you start with the family and then you work your way out. So they're just looking at all these people who conveniently weren't home.
But also, we're able to slip past the security videos and the dogs. The fact that the dogs didn't bark and they didn't prevent you from getting in the house means the dogs probably knew them.
So now, all these leads are dead ends, and a year has gone by.
Yeah, which is wild. 8 people in 4 different locations are dead, and there's not a fucking clue anywhere.
Yeah.
It's me in a department store.
There's a lot of talk and no action, and I'm from the doc, from the cops, let's go. Everyone's frustrated, to which I say, yeah, me too.
Yes.
And so after a year, some information finally becomes public.
Yes. What ends up happening is after the 1-year anniversary, the media attention on the case makes it so that the autopsy reports are released, but they're heavily redacted. But we do learn how many shots each person received, where they were shot. We learn that Chris, the patriarch, the dad here.
And Chris Sr., I believe, got some of the most gunshot wounds, and it looked like he had been also physically attacked as well. So the suspicion was that he was the first, and then everyone else.
I truly believe, for whatever reason, Chris Roden Sr. was really the target of all of this. Chris Sr. was shot 9 times.
So they're saying he was probably the main thrust of this attack, but it's you killed people in 3 other locations.
Right, because they're saying he was shot 9 times. He was the first victim. So why kill 7 more people?
In 3 other locations.
Like, so more things, not just the autopsy, but like more things about the crime scene that we're learning. And apparently whoever did this snuck up on the family in the middle of the night and killed them while they slept, which is why...
But also able to get past the dogs that didn't make a sound and knew where the cameras were pointed. Like, these had to be people who knew them intimately.
100%. So it's May 12th, 2017. About 100 agents search this farm nearby, right?
Yeah.
And this farm was recently sold by George Billy Wagner and his wife Angela.
How do we get from George to Billy?
I have in my notes, where did Billy come from? Because if it's a nickname, fine, but it's in quotes. So it's not like Billy's not short for George.
No.
This is not a Jack John situation. Billy William, like none of that.
It's not that. It's George Billy Wagner.
And Billy's in quotes, so
I know.
we get a lot of George Billy here.
Yeah,
so I don't know. But they searched these 3 properties, and these 3 properties are owned by the Wagner family. And the Wagner family is described as one of those prominent and wealthy families in Piketon. They are Piketon royalty.
Yeah, and everyone really likes them. Nobody can believe that they would have anything to do with this. Like, they're super wealthy. They helped a lot of people, especially the revered matriarch, 76-year-old Frederica Wagner.
Frederica Wagner presides over 1,700 acres of prime land valued at more than $4 million. The jewel in her real estate crown is a prosperous and exclusive 300-acre horse farm called the Flying W.
Valued at over $4 million.
Yes. You know who I thought of her as is the woman from Ozark who's the wife of that bad guy?
Gonna fucking kill me! It's not the same person, but it's an excellent meme from that show. But this farm is the jewel in her real estate crown. I mean, the way they're describing this woman.
But it's worth $4 million in the middle of Appalachia. It's called the Flying W is this horse farm. And they say...
And I'm like, W is in Wagner?
Oh, shit.
Is that right?
God, you're so smart. I never think of anything.
It's that or the Mighty Ducks, the Flying V, or it's a reference to the Mighty Ducks. I don't know.
But they say that the farm makes money because it's an equestrian farm raising a special breed of horses, and it makes a shit ton of money.
Yeah, so they're very, very rich, but they're also very, very generous.
Yes.
So we learn that they're giving back to the community. They give money to the church. They give money to people directly.
Well, they have a bunch of rental properties that are rented from them by like low-income people who maybe don't always have the best meals. So twice a week, Frederica would have everybody over for dinner. She sounds great.
Yeah, she would feed the community, especially the kids.
I'm going to go on the record and say I also don't think Frederica did this.
No, but I don't love her.
I don't care.
She's not like my favorite member of the Wagner family.
If we revive Let the Women, she doesn't get a nap?
100%
no.
no.
Great.
Because, and the thing that we also learned is that like there was lots of unemployment, like we heard, but the Wagners never suffered. So they took care of everyone else. So like no questions asked, you got a job. You need a job. Like they were really trying to build the community up.
These are people with cash buried in the forest.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Let's talk about George Billy.
Okay, great. I'd love to.
George, and even Beth Karras is like, George, but he goes by Billy. And I'm like, why?
I'm clocked in. I'm at your disposal.
Okay,
whatever. I'm at work. You tell me what you want me to do.
Do you know what? It doesn't matter. We never get the answer to the George Billy thing.
I know.
It will haunt me. I will wake up at 3 a.m. going,
wondering,
why, George Billy? Why? So George Billy was not afraid to, quote, tell you what was on his mind. And I'm like, does that mean he was a dick? Or does that mean he was just like
a fun timer?
straightforward?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, great. Why are we talking about the Wagner family? Like, how or why would this family be involved? Like, they must be because we're spending a whole lot of time.
So again, it's the Wagner family is like the rich one with the horse farm. And then it's the Rodens are the ones that have all been murdered. And like, what is the connection here? We get a lot of these like I heards.
I've talked to a few people who said George Wagner and Chris Roden were involved in some dealings.
I heard a lot of rumors, but I do know that Chris and Billy Wagner did get into plenty of deals together, but nothing that bad.
Nothing that would suggest that it'd be worth killing a whole family for.
If they're both like the two big prominent families in the community, like they probably do have business dealings together.
Right, but they don't say what they were. It's like they did plenty of deals together.
Well,
and I'm like what?
It was probably cockfighting.
And unsavory stuff. But it's like, let's talk about it then. If we had to go through the explanation of like the grow houses or whatever, like if we're going to get to the bottom of this oxygen.
And give us one fewer coming up on for the next 3 minutes and tell us what the actual...
I just wonder legally if they can't say that,
it.
But it does feel like they did plenty of deals. Great, what kind?
But well, because the other thing is that everybody keeps saying is like, but what kind of deal gone wrong would result in them having to kill 8 people in the family? It doesn't make sense.
Right. But here's that. It all feels pretty vague. But here's what's not vague.
Yes.
Their kids had a relationship and a kid together. So Hannah Roden is 19 years old. She's one of our victims. She had a baby with Edward Jake Wagner. Why Jake? Don't ask. We'll never find out.
I didn't even realize.
If these are middle names, fine.
Right,
but they're not because they're in quotes.
Right.
Which means it's a nickname.
Also, Jake's a great name.
Jake's a great name.
You know what I mean?
Edward's great. They're all great.
They're all George. I'll take it.
Edward Jake Wagner. It's not, again, it's not his middle name.
I know.
It's in quotes.
No, it's probably a family tradition of I'm going to name you after my dad, but we're going to call you after your grandfather.
That's fine.
You know
but Beth, could you tell me?
Beth doesn't know.
Beth doesn't ask.
She doesn't know. Yeah, that's true.
Beth, ask a question.
Sure.
No, Beth's fine.
Text Diane Diamond. She knows.
Why do you keep bringing Diane Diamond into this? Current affair.
Yeah.
So Hannah and Edward Jake were a couple.
Jake Wagner and Hannah Roden had a kid together, Sophia, who was about 3 at the time of the deaths. They had not been married. They had had a serious committed relationship for a while, and then they went their separate ways.
So they were in a serious relationship for a while, and then they split up. So it's 2 families, 2 generations, business ties, personal ties.
2 prominent families in the town.
I think we're onto something
Yes.
here. So they searched the property, this Flying W or whatever.
Uh-huh.
And then they don't...
It's her crown jewel of her estate, Joanne.
I mean, obviously.
Show some respect,
Frederica.
Please. I know. I don't think Frederica's involved.
Okay. It feels like she ran the show.
I agree.
She gets
I'm just saying she would be feeding my family. We literally, nuns used to come to my house and bring us food.
That's great.
That's how poor we
Wasn't
were.
Gacy feeding the whole fucking town too and donating? Wasn't what's her name, Dorothea, doing Taco Tuesday? Please. Okay?
I stand corrected.
I don't trust nobody.
Right.
Everyone's a suspect, okay? Everyone is a suspect.
I absolutely agree.
And also, at this point, the nicer you are,
I know,
the more suspicious I am.
She was the matriarch, the Flying W, the crown jewel of her property.
She was giving everyone away so that people would say exactly what you're saying.
You're right.
She's so nice.
I know.
Taco Tuesday.
Whoever would have thought?
How could we even imagine this? Guess what? So... Look.
Oh, my.
So they searched this Flying W or whatever. That's what it's called. That's what it's called. So they search the property, this farm, but then they don't make an arrest.
Right.
And I'm just have any of the Wagners been questioned yet? I feel like they'd be good people to talk to.
I honest to God, I fucking question these people because they say the cops are laser focused on this family.
I have laser focused in quotes and highlighted as well.
But then the other thing that happens is right after the 2nd anniversary, this family that is the number 1 suspect that the cops are laser focused on.
And also the entire town is talking about the Wagners.
Yes. Every single nothing to see here Wagners pack all their shit and move to Alaska.
Right.
They are royalty in this town. That fucking Flying W is worth $4 million.
Right. Now, moving is not a crime, but this is a major red flag.
Of course.
And also
because they all go. It's not like Frederica went with her husband. You know what I mean?
But this won't stop them from being arrested if they actually did it. It's not Cuba or China or some other place where they can't be extradited. What are you talking about?
All right, private school. Name 2 other places where you can't.
I can't. I Googled it.
Venezuela.
Is that right?
Yeah, no extradition.
Okay. There's a major list. I forgot all of it.
Totally.
I just picked 2.
Great, and you nailed it.
They're both in the C category. They're both C's.
But the Wagners downplay this,
claiming they had been planning it for some time. It was, they say, increased press scrutiny after the searches that finally drove them to leave town.
They moved to Alaska to get away from the coverage, which, of course, only exacerbated the coverage and the suspicions that they had basically fled the area because they were going to be pulled in and arrested.
The press won't leave us alone.
So
we're just trying to live.
It's over 4,000 miles away.
Yeah.
I Google mapped it. It's a 68-hour drive. You have to drive through Canada to get there.
Well, is there another route you could take not through Canada?
You could fly there.
Okay.
I'm just saying they had to drive 68 hours.
Okay, good.
It's a long fucking drive.
I just wanted to make sure that your private school education had not failed to tell you where Alaska was.
I know where Alaska is.
Okay,
because
because you were just they had to drive through Canada, get to Canada.
But they could fly. You know what I'm saying?
Yes, gotcha.
To drive through a different country, just fucking fly.
I know. Okay, great.
But they probably, they're rich.
You know what? Everyone in this room knows where Canada is.
Okay, great.
Okay, good.
Sorry, I just X'd out my notes. But it's a 68-hour drive.
Yeah.
So they do these interviews with the press wherein they blame interviews with the press, and that's why they wanted to move. They were like, it's been planned for quite some time. I'm being harassed. So I moved 70 hours away after getting searched. It's only going to get you more attention.
But wait,
why'd you move?
They're giving those interviews in Alaska.
Just stop talking.
What I'm saying is they're giving interviews to the press in Alaska saying how they moved to Alaska to get away from the press in Ohio.
Shut up.
Shut up.
You moved away. You got what you wanted. Shut up.
Shut up.
2 years after the murders, there is another memorial.
They do a
right?
balloon launch, which we don't love.
Which we don't do.
Yeah.
But the town is still up in arms. Like, who did this? Are we safe?
Because think about this. 8 people were murdered at the same time. It's so sad. And like the killers are still out there. They could be living among them.
Right.
And they say like it transforms this cute little town from a place where you could leave your door unlocked to like where you don't want to be outside after dark.
Right. Then, out of the clear blue sky, who comes back? The Wagners. They just come back. They're like, Alaska, not for us. Not enough people knocking down our doors for interviews.
We got to get out of here. One day they were just like ice fishing and they're like, you know what? We got to go.
You know what?
We're going back.
And instead of settling literally anywhere else, they settle back down in their home.
You know what? They know how to get around in that town. You know?
And then bada bing, bada boom, they're arrested. And I'm like, did they not arrest them because they were just too far away?
Well, like,
did they wait for them to come back? What if they didn't come back?
Did moving to Alaska work?
Like,
you know?
what if they didn't come back?
I know.
They would just be out there ice fishing?
I guess so.
Oh my God.
They arrest 4 of them at the same time to keep them from talking and possibly fleeing the county, they say.
And apparently everyone in the community has questions, including me.
Well,
because this comes out of nowhere. They're like, wait, they're back?
Right. And like, they don't really have a good reason for why these people are the killers.
Right.
So we learn there is some questionable things that have happened with the Wagners, right? An affidavit from the court case reveals they say something shocking.
The Wagners allegedly got parts from a lawnmower and made their own silencer.
There were items purchased prior to the murder. The Wagners allegedly went to Walmart and got specific shoes used for the murder, possibly so that they wouldn't have DNA evidence in the house. There was gun ammunition purchased, a gun magazine, and a brass catcher.
They buy gun ammunition, a gun magazine, a brass catcher, which is like the thing that catches the shell casing. So like this is very suspicious, but I wouldn't think enough to make actual arrests.
Right. But they did. So here are the 4 family members that have been arrested. Billy Wagner.
Yeah.
His wife, Angela. And his 2 adult sons, Jake and George.
Yes.
Edward Jake Wagner, right?
And they're just saying, like, if these are the actual killers, imagine the amount of work that would have had to have gone into this. Like, the amount of just surveillance to know where everybody was going to be at the time you wanted to kill them, and then do it in a coordinated way where it was essentially at the same time.
Yeah. Can we talk more about what the affidavit said? Because making your own silencer is terrifying.
Yeah.
And also, did you catch? It's something called a brass catcher.
Yeah, it's the thing that catches the shell casing.
So you don't leave any at the scene?
I know.
But
you would think, why doesn't every gun have that?
Because you're not committing a crime.
I guess that's true. But you're littering.
Hopefully.
You're littering, I guess.
Which I have a major problem with.
Yeah.
But see, I took that differently. I'm like, oh, this was very much planned out.
So wait, do you think the Wagners did it?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Is that what the world thinks?
I don't know what the world thinks. I know what I think.
Because my whole thing is like, look, if it's 4 people, it is, I always say this, if it's 1 person, you can keep a secret to yourself. If it's 2 people, I don't know about that. 3 people, I definitely don't know. 4 people, no one's keeping that secret.
Yeah.
You know?
I mean, but for me, the motive is pretty big. But so you know who else is arrested though?
Who?
The beloved 76-year-old Wagner matriarch, Frederica.
She's taken into custody.
And her mother-in-law or whatever, 65-year-old Rita Newcomb. These are old women.
I know.
Here we are.
I know.
And the community is like, I can't believe all of these powerful and loved people are sitting in court. And I'm like, well, get used to it. I don't know what to tell you. That's where they are.
I know. Let's get to why.
Okay.
So they say this is potentially like a custody thing.
Yes.
So we learn that Hannah and Jake, they're the young couple.
When the couple splits up in 2015, Hannah retains full custody of Sophia.
There was conversation and talk that arrangement wasn't working out and that Jake Wagner and his family were trying to get sole custody.
Then there was talk that Jake wanted full custody, and then Hannah moved on to Billy Roden, and she gets pregnant again. So she is the one, this is awful, but when she was murdered, she was holding her 5-day-old newborn baby.
Yeah. And Frederica and Rita, the 65-year-olds, are charged with forging custody papers.
Yes.
And lying about
the
shit.
question is, if they're like, what they're saying is, okay, I guess we've linked to some kind of motive, but why on earth, if you're trying to get custody, would you have to kill everyone in the entire family? And they do give us an answer. They say that like maybe Jake Wagner, who like orchestrated having all these people killed, was afraid that if his, the mother of his child was killed, custody wouldn't immediately go to him.
Yes.
It might go to somebody else in the family if they found him to be unfit.
So what they're saying is he killed the entire family so that Sophia had to go to him. There was no other person for Sophia to go to.
I'm just saying, I love Daisy more than I've ever knew that I could possibly love. If something horrendous happened to me and Steve, there's just no way I'm murdering him and everyone in his family to have custody of Daisy. Make this make sense to me.
I can't.
Is it less about the love of the kid and more about the power of like, I will have you or I will not let you have her?
Yeah, because for some reason, just based on what I'm picking up here is that like there's no idea of co-parenting. Like she gets full custody and then he wants full custody because 6 days after the murders, Jake files for full custody and gets it.
Yes.
And so like the idea is that he killed the whole family so that the judge wouldn't have a choice. And the 3-year-old Sophia was not at the scene of the crime.
No, she was with him that night.
So what people are kind of speculating, I guess like you would call this circumstantial evidence, I guess, that like Sophia was kept safe.
Right.
And everyone else did the dirty work.
I mean, show me some evidence.
I don't know.
You got to tell me then, like, do they know where all the security cameras are on the Roden property? Are they close enough with them that the dogs aren't going to alert? What happened?
I mean, it seems they definitely knew each other. They were the families were definitely intertwined.
Yep. So, we're getting to the end and we learned that
at the end of November 2018, each member of the Wagner family, along with Angela's mother, Rita Newcomb, is arraigned before a judge in Pike County. As an entire community anxiously looks on, each of the accused enters the same plea: not guilty.
And they all plead not guilty. The 4 family members are accused of murder. They're ordered held without bond, and they will stay in jail until they are brought to trial, which I guess is where we are now.
Yeah, there are no updates. I looked. But also, on the other hand, it's like, Jake, what is the fucking end game here?
Right.
So you kill the entire family, and then where does that leave Sophia? If you get caught...
This is that whole thing of like, it's not for the love of the kid. There's some other motivation here.
It's the fight.
Yeah, but if you kill the woman that you hate, she doesn't then suffer not having the kid. So I don't understand the psychology of this.
Yeah, I don't either.
Yeah.
I don't get it. But I also don't know, like, who else could it have been?
Right. I mean, unless like there was some sort of drug-related thing because they were very successful marijuana growers. I mean, like...
It was not the cartel.
I don't think it was the cartel either. But the only reason people thought it was the cartel was because it was so, like, forgive me for saying it this way, but like well orchestrated.
Yes, of
they
course.
left no evidence. Jake's an idiot. Jake is leaving a fucking fingerprint.
Yeah, I don't know. And like the Wagner family won't speak about it, which I'm sure all their lawyers are saying is a smart thing.
Yeah.
They're not allowed to. And so like they're all awaiting trial. This came out in 2019. It's now 2023 and there are still no updates. Like they're still doing, like when you Google it, it's just like, oh, someone filed a motion to whatever. There's nothing like substantial happening.
It's so weird because this is like the one true crime podcast that I see every day when I look at like new shows or whatever that I haven't subscribed to. So I didn't know anything about, I did not know we were going to get to the end of this without a resolution.
I know.
That's wild.
I know. But now the story's out there, or like as much of it that can be out there.
Yeah. I mean, it's got to be them because there's no other suspects.
Like no other suspect was even really seriously discussed here.
Which,
like the demolition derby rivalry. Like, I'm sorry.
But I mean, like, like a laser focus isn't always a good thing, as we know. But, but anyway.
But also, like, there is no rationality for killing an entire family like this. So for me to try to find reasoning also doesn't make any sense.
Yeah. What are we even doing here?
Well, I don't know.
All right, bye.
Bye. Don't look in the woods, everybody. Bye.
No, bye. I'm telling you, Bigfoot is looking at you in the woods. Goes, she fucking look at me?
No, I didn't.
She fucking look at me?
Bigfoot, I'm looking away from you right now. Mutual respect, okay?
Fam, join us on the Patreon. Come hang out with us. Over 450 full ad-free bonus eps. You get them right this second. The holidays are upon us. You're making long trips. Download a whole bunch of stuff.
Yeah.
You can get it on Spotify too now. Just search TCO Patreon feed and you'll find it. It's right there.
Incredible.
What are we doing next?
So it's called The Dead of Night on Peacock. It's the murder of LaJoya McCoy.
Oof.
I know.
All right. Well, stay tuned for the trailer for that and our funny and hilarious outtakes. I don't know.
I guess. We talked a lot about the woods
That's
today.
true.
And a lot about the demo derbs.
It's outside the comfort zone.
I know.
I do love the idea of the demo derbs on like the third Sunday in June.
Yeah, it's
the
just
gays get it for one day.
Yeah, it's bumper cars
I mean,
for the big
imagine
kids.
the playlist. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like that would be. We should make this happen. We should do
Sequins
this.
and glitter
Yes,
everywhere.
they're still cleaning up glitter to this day.
Yeah.
We love you, fam.
We love you.
Bye.
It was the dead of night, and she ran as fast as she could. Frightened, panicked. Wearing next to nothing, she climbed over the iron gate, pounded on the door, and begged for help. Who was this woman? What or who was she running from? And would she make it out alive?